Okay, folks, I've got a little tackle tip here that I want to share that I'm sure a lot of you guys already do, and maybe some of you don't. But the reel on the left has a really high quality braid line, real light for my finesse fishing, Cincos and such. And for some reason, it faded on me. And I know the line is still good underneath that spool a couple hundred yards. It's a bright yellow. So I just got a new setup, this Johnny Morris Carbon Light 2.0, and we are going to spool on the line. And so when it gets full over here on the right, it should start getting really bright yellow from the line that's not being seen from the sun on the reel on the left. And oh, I don't see it right now, but anyway, oh, there it is. 1 second. Here it is, right there. We're going to try this Smackdown Flash Green Braid cigar, and we're going to put that on this reel here, which is my Dobbins rod setup. And so I like high vis line. I like to be able to see that line jump when I get a bite. Okay, so now you can see the reel on the right has spooled up the braided line that was on the reel on the left, and it's got more of that high vis color now that we can see. And it was the bottom end of the reel that was on the left. So I was hoping to have more line on there, but I guess we're going to use that for now. But the reel on the left, you're going to notice, this is another trick that I do in order to get my mileage out of my line. It's not cheap line. There's 150 yards here. So I put on some backing, usually just some cheap mono or whatever. And then I'll spool on a good, whatever, casting distance, 75, 80 yards of line. And so I'll actually get two refills or whatever from this one package of line. So we'll splice the Smackdown onto the left reel here, and when it gets full, we'll cut it here, and I'll still have half my line, and I might actually add this to over here so that I can get this a little bit fuller. Okay, now you can see how on the left, on the reel on the left, that Okuma reel, I've got it spooled up completely full with this brand new cigar Smackdown Flash Green Braid, which would show up pretty good. And then on the right, with the new reel, I've got the old line, but it's on the bottom half of the reel from the left that is still nice and bright. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and splice on. I'm going to cut the Smackdown off the spool here, and then I'm going to splice it on to this line here, and I'm going to get this a little bit fuller. I like it to get as full as I can without it jumping off the reel. So one question I might get asked is, how do I connect the braid to the braid? And I'm using the double uni knot, and I don't know how good this camera is going to pick up the knot, but that knot is skookum. It's not going to come untied, especially when you're hooked up to a fish, or like your favorite lure snagged up and you're pulling on it and your braid parts because you were trying to save a few bucks by adding on some braided line to your braided line, when you go ahead and lose like a $20 lure. So anyhow, this knot here, this is the knot you definitely want to use, is uni to uni when you're doing braid to braid. There you go, guys. I've got both reels spooled up with this cigar Smackdown. Nice bright green line. And I did it all with 150 yards. I think that's what's on this spool, is 150 yards. Yep, 150 yards. And I even have extra line left over. and I got more than enough line on each reel to be able to cast a long distance. So now all I gotta do is just splice on a piece of either, I like monofilament line. I can't think of the name right now. Hold on a second here. Yeah, on the monofilament Maxima line, like the green or the clear line is awesome. That line does not break. I'll go down to like 8 pound with that line. But I'm going to just go ahead and splice on some fluorocarbon, like some 10 pound fluorocarbon. Really hard to focus in on this knot, but this is the FG knot that I'm using to tie the fluorocarbon to the braided line. It feels really secure. I honestly feel a little more confident using Maxima, like 8 pound Maxima monofilament, compared to this fluorocarbon. Whoa, she came out of focus. I had no problems a couple weeks ago with a 8 pound Maxima mono. Had a bass wrap up around a bunch of willow bushes and pretty much had given up on catching the bass, but didn't want to lose the lure. And I paddled the kayak over the top of the bushes and just started hand lining the mono up to me. And lo and behold, the bass came with it, and it didn't break the line. I'm not so sure that the fluorocarbon would have done the same. All right, for this second rod setup, I went ahead and spliced on the 8 pound Maxima Ultra Green with an FG knot to the braid and gave it a really good snug pull, and it is tight. I don't know, but I actually have more confidence in this 8 pound Maxima than I do that 10 pound fluoro. I like using fluoro, but if you burn it in the knot, you're going to weaken it, and it's a weak spot to break the line. And I've never had a problem with Maxima. Okay, so there's my two finished finesse setups that I'm going to be using with the new line I got on there, and I still got extra line. The braided cigar smackdown, I got a little bit extra if I need to add to one of these reels if I get a real bad hang up or something, I have to cut some off. But anyhow, so one of the reels is spooled with a little bit of Red Label cigar fluorocarbon for a leader. And then the other one's got the tried and true Maxima Ultra Green in 8 pound. So that way I can throw some smaller baits and still be able to see my line jump if I switch to a jig, a micro jig or something. So anyhow, I was real lucky that my son bought me this Dobbins Sierra Series spinning rod, and it is completely awesome. It was for my birthday a couple years ago, and he splurged on me. So I kind of wanted a second spinning rod, but I wasn't going to go to the extreme of getting another Dobbins right now. I'm going to try this Carbon Light 2.0. If it's good enough for Ott to Foe, I'm sure it's good enough for me. So we will see. Okay, I kind of want to show a little bonus footage on my jig setup to kind of go along with the line that I just put on those two finesse spinning setups. But anyhow, I really like to throw jigs, and I got them broken down. These are my flipping and pitching jigs, like 3/8 and 1/2 ounce. And I try to put trailers on a lot of them and stuff, so they're ready to go. So these are my flipping and pitching jigs. Then I got football jigs for dragging in the summertime. 1/2 ounce, 3/8 ounce. I like trying to find custom jigs, like GRT jigs. These are some D2 lures. Yeah. And I got this swim jigs. I like throwing swim jigs. In fact, one day that's all I threw. I went with a guy he's a professional bass fisherman, and I got to go in his bass boat, and we fished all day, and I think I kept the same stinking swim jig on for the most part. I did finally switch to a micro jig, and that brings me to what I want to chat about real quick, is these smaller jigs here. So I made a micro jig box, and I think it is, where's it at? The Bass Patrol makes a pretty good living rubber jig, but I picked up these Kitech mono jigs for throwing on a spinning reel. I didn't realize how small they were. I mean, these are tiny. If I'd have known that, I probably wouldn't have bought them. So anyhow, I used this little craw here to put on one of them. I used a real small Kitech to put on another one. And then this is a Missile Baits, like a Ned style worm, that I put on another one. But I was looking for some really small trailers to kind of accent these little Kitech mono jigs. And what I came up with is the 2.75 craw chunk by Yum. Little craw trailer there. That looks like it's going to work. It still looks a little big, but I think what's going to be the bomb is these net bait tiny packet chunks. They are really small. I mean, that's the size of like the size of a 50-cent piece. And if you accent that with this little micro mono jig, and then throw that on that spinning setup that I got, I think that's going to be really good on the days that the bite's real slow. Then I got also the Zoom Super Chunk Junior in black and blue. Now, I was throwing a Zoom Chunk this last Saturday. It was a little bit bigger. It was quite a bit bigger than this mini chunk or whatever, and had really good results with that with a micro jig. I don't think I got one tied on inside here, but no. So anyway, those three trailers there. I got the Yum craw chunk and the tiny packet chunk and the Zoom Super Chunk Junior. And anyway, we are going to be set for jig fishing.